The Law of Rhythm, written and published by Audible Aria. The rhythm theory proposes that everything in the world follows a regular pattern, much like the swinging motion of a pendulum. This pattern is found in the balance between any opposing forces, which is linked to the law of polarity. The cycles of life, the changing seasons, and the various stages of growth all adhere to these rhythmic patterns, illustrating the dependable nature of the universe. In simpler terms, it suggests that many things in life happen in a predictable and repeating way, like the steady swinging of a pendulum. The law of rhythm is like a big idea that says the energy in the whole universe is a bit like a swing, going left when something else is going right. This idea isn't just about space and stars, but it's also about how things happen in life, especially when it comes to cycles like how economies go up and down. Imagine if you were on a swing going back and forth smoothly. That's like how things are supposed to happen, following a sort of pattern. But here's the catch. When things suddenly change in a way you didn't expect, it's like the swing taking a weird turn. This unexpected twist can bring challenges, making things tough and causing some pain. The law of rhythm helps us understand that even when life takes unexpected turns, it's still a part of this bigger pattern, a bit like the swinging motion of the pendulum. When life gets tough, there are two ways to deal with it. The first way is to keep your eyes on the goal you set, pushing through the difficult times with determination and staying focused. It's like saying, I know where I want to go and I won't let anything stop me. On the other hand, there's another approach. Instead of just seeing obstacles as roadblocks, you can look at them as the universe's way of shifting things around for a good reason. It's kind of like saying, okay, maybe there's a different path that's even better for me. This means accepting the truth of the situation and not letting the pain get to you, trusting that things will get better according to the law of rhythm. So, whether you're determined to power through or you're open to the idea that the universe might be guiding you to something better, both ways involve understanding that tough times are just a part of a bigger pattern, like the swing of a pendulum. It's knowing that even when things seem hard now, they'll get better in the long run. The law of rhythm is not as famous as some other universal laws, but it talks about how things naturally move and change in the world. Even though it might seem a bit different from the law of attraction, it's like saying the universe has its way of pulling energies back, not just randomly, but for a good reason. When you get this idea, it opens up the possibility for a higher and better level of potential. Picture it like this. You know how things have their ups and downs, like the seasons changing, or a rhythm in music? That's the law of rhythm at work. It's saying that there's a kind of natural flow to things. And even if it looks a bit different from the law of attraction, where you attract what you want, the law of rhythm is about the universe rearranging things for a bigger purpose. So by understanding this, you're sort of stepping into a world where you see that the way things move and change has a purpose. It's like saying, okay, there's a reason for this rhythm, and it's making space for something even better. It's a bit like finding a hidden harmony in the ups and downs of life. Staying in rhythm means noticing the highs and lows in life, realizing that every action you take has a reaction that's kind of like a balance. To go along with the law of rhythm, it's important for people to think about how they're thinking and feeling, asking themselves questions about what's going on and what to do. One helpful way is to adopt a mindset where you're not super attached to the outcomes. This means not always expecting things to turn out exactly how you want them to. By doing this, it helps keep your emotions in check and creates a sort of balance or indifference, making it easier to succeed. So it's like saying, hey, life has its ups and downs, and that's okay. I'm not going to get too caught up in whether things go exactly as planned. Instead, I'll keep my cool and go with the flow, knowing that this rhythm is just a part of the bigger picture. This approach can make it easier to handle whatever comes your way and increase your chances of success. So when tough times come around, people won't feel super surprised or really down if stuff doesn't work out the way they hoped. It's a good idea to jump in and go with the natural way things happen in life. In the end, things usually start looking up because of how things naturally work. The key is not letting your happiness rely too much on things you can't control. It's about handling your feelings, especially when things don't go as planned. This helps you deal with the different ups and downs life throws at you, steering clear of big highs or lows and finding a chill and calm state. So it's like saying, okay, when life gets tricky, I won't get super bummed out. I'll roll with it, knowing that things will get better eventually because that's just how life is. I won't let my happiness depend on things I can't control, and I'll keep my cool even when things go a bit sideways. This way, you can navigate through the twists and turns of life and find a peaceful and composed state of mind. Using determination is really important to stay positive. The law of rhythm is like this big idea that talks about how life goes in cycles, affecting how people act and things happen around them. By going along with these cycles, you can avoid going to the extremes and actually grow in a good way, reaching your full potential. Knowing about and using the law of rhythm helps you build a successful life. Think of it like this. When you're determined to keep a positive attitude, it's like a superpower. The law of rhythm is like saying, hey, life has its cycles like ups and downs, and if I go with the flow, I can avoid the really high highs and low lows. This helps me grow and become better. So it's kind of saying, I'm going to use my determination to stay positive, and by doing that I can ride the waves of life, avoiding big extremes and growing in a way that's really meaningful. Understanding and using the law of rhythm is like having a secret weapon to make your life successful. The law of rhythm applies to different parts of life like business, coming up with new ideas, how we connect with others, and even growing as a person. It's like a rule that says nothing stays the same forever. Even though we can't stop this natural flow, we can notice it and find a balance by being thankful and keeping things in harmony during each season of life. Imagine life as having different seasons, not just the ones with weather changes, but in everything we do. The law of rhythm is like saying, hey, things change and that's okay. I can't stop it, but I can go with it and keep a good balance. So it's like understanding, in business, in how I think of new stuff, in how I connect with people, and in growing as a person, there's a rhythm. I can't make it stop, but I can see it and find a balance by being grateful and keeping things in harmony, no matter what season of life I'm in. It's like learning how to dance with the rhythm of life and making the most out of every beat. The law of rhythm is one of 7 important rules that have been around since humans started turning their energy into the stuff we can touch and feel. These laws aren't something you need to study super hard. You can actually see them in action through your own life experiences. Even though words and outside stuff might make us feel a bit separate from these laws, they're actually built into us and influence how we go through life. Think of it like this. There are these fundamental laws, like the law of rhythm, that have been around since forever. You don't have to be a genius to understand them. You just need to pay attention to what happens in your life. Even though language and other things might make us feel like we're far away from these laws, they're actually a natural part of us. They're like the invisible hands shaping how we experience things and go through life. Let's take the law of gravity as an example. You don't have to sit down and take a class to learn about it. You just live and do your thing, and gravity does its job every day, making things fall down. Now, think about the law of rhythm, which is kind of like the back and forth swing of a pendulum. It's connected to another law called the law of polarity. This law of rhythm is all about how everything moves, shifts, and changes consciously, just like swinging back and forth. It's like things are always on the move, going from one state to another, up and down, in and out, getting stronger and then easing off, flowing away and then coming back again. It's like saying, hey, energy is always doing something, never just hanging out doing nothing. It's always in motion, always moving around. Let's imagine a pendulum like a swing to help explain how our energy and this thing called the law of polarity work together. It's a bit like when you start the swing moving, that's your energy. And it has 2 ends, like the poles of the Earth. Now the cool part is, changes don't just happen because someone does something. They happen because things become different. It's like a constant flow and movement in the world around us. Every moment, our bodies, thoughts, feelings, and everything else are going through changes, physically, mentally, emotionally, and just as a natural part of life. But here's the tricky part. Sometimes, our way of thinking can make it hard for us to get what we call the law of rhythm. It's like we're not fully understanding this idea of things always moving and changing. This kind of thinking can separate us from our true selves, the healthy inner part of us, and from understanding these basic rules that we've known about since we were born. It's like we've had these rules in us all along, but sometimes our minds get in the way of fully getting them. A thought often pops up. Can we be without thinking? People keep chatting about this, and it'll probably keep going as long as folks stay curious. When you're stuck in a problem, the fix usually isn't right there in the problem. If it were, well, there wouldn't really be a problem in the first place. Now, humans are like these perfect containers for thoughts, and thoughts start in our minds. Before we get all these thoughts, we're in this complete state. It's like being whole and undivided. As folks figure out where they are on the subject of thinking, they realize something cool. They're the energy that makes thinking happen. It's like saying, hey, before all these thoughts, I'm this complete being. And when I notice where I stand on the thought scale, I see I'm the energy that makes me aware. It's a bit like a light bulb moment where you realize you're the power behind your own consciousness. Imagine there's a space called human consciousness, like a big room where all our thoughts and feelings happen. In this room, there's something called the law of rhythm, which is always moving around through our thoughts and feelings. It's super important to notice how things change inside us before we start thinking about them, not after. So think of it like this big room in your head. The law of rhythm is like this invisible force moving things around in there. It's saying, hey, pay attention to what's happening inside you before you start thinking about it. That way you're on top of things and not just reacting after stuff has already changed. It's like trying to catch the rhythm of a song before it even starts playing. You want to be right there when it begins, not trying to catch up after it's started. Think about everything around us. It's all kind of like a temporary show. The Earth goes around the sun, and the moon spins around the Earth. These movements have been going on for ages, making life have these cycles and patterns. It's not just about space. You can see this rhythm in things like the stock market, how politics change, and even in how people relate to each other. Every step in this big dance has its own job, but they're all connected, making this whole picture come together. It's like saying, hey, everything has its turn, from the big things like planets to the smaller stuff like how people interact, and it all fits together like pieces in a puzzle. When we look at things without seeing the whole picture, we might like some seasons more, or we might have favorites in the stock market or politics. But here's the cool part. The law of polarity shows that we're part of something way bigger, and we actually need all the different stages. So, taking a little step back and realizing that time is like this big boss helps us understand that things will change even if they don't happen right away like we hoped. Trusting the natural way things work, kind of like a plan set by Mother Nature, is super important. It's like saying, okay, I might like some parts more than others, but I need all of them, and I trust that things will unfold the way they're supposed to. It's like going with the flow of a big river, knowing it will take you where you need to be. Our feelings, how we feel day to day, and the things we do are always changing because of what's happening around us. When we're feeling a bit low, it's easy to think that the bad stuff will stick around forever. But guess what? Choosing hope and going with the natural rhythm of life, like swimming along with a river, can actually bring more happiness in the long run. It's like saying, even when things seem tough, if I stay hopeful and go with the flow, better days are on the horizon. So it's not about getting stuck in the moment, but realizing that there's a whole journey ahead, and it can be filled with more joy if we choose to ride the waves of life. Living things don't control the natural rhythms around them, But choosing to go along with the flow instead of fighting against it can bring a lot of happiness. It's like saying, hey, I might not be the boss of everything, but if I ride along with the rhythm of life, things can be better. Taking a moment to appreciate when things are going well and having confidence that brighter days are on the way when times get tough is really important. It's like having a positive mindset and saying, even when things are tricky, I believe good times will show up. Understanding that there's a right time for every action and learning to go with the ups and downs of life is super crucial. It's like saying, okay, life has its different beats, and I'll learn to dance along, enjoying the highs and handling the lows. It's about realizing that life has its own rhythm, and embracing it brings more joy. Rhythm is like the heartbeat of nature, much like how seasons change and tides go up and down. Everything, even the stuff we can touch, is basically energy buzzing at different levels, moving back and forth like a swing. This back and forth pattern is not just in abstract energy, but shows up in real things like seasons changing, tides moving, and planets doing their thing. Now, the law of rhythm, according to the fifth Hermetic theory, talks about this swingy motion, kind of like a pendulum, not only in the physical world, but also in our thoughts and feelings. It's saying, hey, just like how things swing back and forth physically, our minds and spirits also have this rhythm. It's like recognizing that this swingy pattern is a big part of everything around us, from the physical world to what's going on in our minds and hearts. Think about how people feel. Happy, sad, wanting things, hoping for stuff. It's like these feelings have a pattern, going up and down, just like how nature works with tides going in and out. This pattern is true for everyone, but some folks, the rhythm specialists, have figured out how to not let it mess with their minds too much. Now, the Hermetic educators say something interesting. They believe the world is like this big canvas where our minds can create stuff. It's kind of like being an artist or a creator. They're saying, hey, just like an artist brings something new to life, our minds can do the same with the world around us. It's like seeing the world as a place where we can make things happen, and our thoughts and feelings are like the paints on a palette. There's this incredible force. Some people call it the Almighty or the source of everything, and it's always buzzing with energy. It's a bit like how artists and sculptors dive into their creative process. Scientists even have a name for the start of everything. They call it the Big Bang. So, this amazing source creates all kinds of stuff, like the universe we're in. It's not just a one-time thing, it keeps going, getting more and more intricate. It's like going from tiny particles to chemicals, then different living things like animals, and finally, human beings. This whole process follows a rhythm, a bit like a pattern you can see. It's like the universe is expanding and there's this back and forth movement. Sometimes it's like the universe remembers itself during special moments. Humans are a big part of this, kind of like a huge swing going back and forth, connecting with the source and spreading across the planet. It's like we're part of this grand dance that's been happening for a really long time. In our physical world, things often have two sides, like opposites. Life is this big blend of feelings, with love and hatred existing at the same time. It's like they take turns, swinging back and forth between being really strong. This dual nature shows up in lots of places, like in politics, where movements that want change and others that want things to stay the same are always reacting to each other. It's like this never-ending loop, where one side responds to the other and it just keeps going. The idea of rhythm isn't just for big stuff, it's in our own lives too. Let's say someone is born with lots of money. They might enjoy fancy things, but they could miss out on the important qualities that folks who haven't had it easy develop. The Hermetic thinkers had this cool idea about two parts of our experience. One is like a lower level, where our habits happen without us really thinking about it. The other is higher up, where we're aware of what's going on. The law of rhythm affects that lower level, where things happen automatically, and to avoid getting stuck in a back and forth swing like a pendulum, you've got to rise up to that higher level of awareness. It's like saying, hey, I want to be in control and not just reacting to stuff without thinking about it. So it's not just about the big picture, it's about how we live our own lives too. Stopping the back and forth swing of the pendulum means raising how much you're aware of what's going on, so you don't get stuck in those cycles of things happening without you thinking about it. This idea is a big deal in Hermetic teachings, regular psychology, and spiritual activities like mindfulness meditation. The law of rhythm helps you see that life has these repeating patterns, with good times and not so great times. Knowing about this law can help you feel better when things get tough, giving you the confidence that the tricky times won't last forever. It's like understanding that there's a rhythm to life, and even when things are down, they'll swing back up again. So it's not just about handling the swings, it's about being aware and rising above them. The law of rhythm isn't just about tough times. It also means that good days can turn into even more awesome moments. Think about the calm rhythm of ocean waves, the exciting ups and downs of a roller coaster, or the gentle rocking of a baby swing. Rhythm can be pretty fascinating and thrilling, like a catchy beat in a song. We humans really like rhythm. We crave it when things get a bit boring. Even though not all changes are what we'd prefer, there's this natural desire for it, and we often find comfort in things that feel familiar. It's like saying, hey, even if I don't always like change, I kind of want it, and the familiar stuff makes me feel good. So, the law of rhythm isn't just about tough times, but also about making good moments even better and keeping life interesting. So what can we learn from the law of rhythm? It's a bit like grasping a dance routine in life, where you can kind of predict the steps. When things get tough, the key is to hold on to the belief that nicer days are on their way. Life operates in a sort of systematic way, almost like a well-practiced dance routine. Sometimes when things get frustrating, it might feel like the hard times will stick around forever. But the law of rhythm is here to teach us that everything goes in cycles. It's like saying, hey, tough times come, but they also go, and better times will roll around again. So it's not just about facing challenges, but also understanding that life's dance has its own rhythm and it keeps going, bringing different beats and moves. Imagine having a party night, but oh no, a sore throat shows up and messes it all up. Or maybe a fever decides to join the family sleepover and turn it into a not-so-peaceful night. Relationships, too, can go through highs and lows, like when a new person comes to town and a teenage couple decides to take a break. Now here's where the law of polarity steps in, reminding us that having differences is actually important. It's not just about getting stuck in the hard moments. It's about understanding that contrast is a natural part of life. And then there's the law of rhythm, which is like your GPS for navigating through life more smoothly. The trick is to notice what's happening around you. The more you observe, the better you become at expecting and handling life's highs and lows. It's like saying, okay, things might get tricky, but I know it's part of the rhythm of life and I can deal with it. So instead of letting challenges ruin the fun, you can learn to dance through life's beats and make the most out of every move. As time goes by, we might get used to feeling confident and capable, but there's this constant desire for that exciting surge of energy that lifts us up. Achieving success acts like a big push to keep moving forward. Instead of facing life like a massive wave to ride, it's more like building a staircase with positive memories stacking on each other, helping us climb higher with each step. The law of rhythm is a simple idea that often doesn't get much attention, but it's not widely accepted. It basically says that everything in life has a rhythm, kind of like how ocean tides go in and out. Bad days are always followed by good moments, day always turns into night, and when things swing down, they eventually swing back up. Even though it's straightforward, many people don't fully accept this law. But if you break it down to its simplest terms, it's saying that life has its own rhythm, like a natural pattern that keeps things moving. If we didn't have tough days, we wouldn't really understand and value the good and happy days. It's a bit like not fully grasping what daytime looks like without experiencing the inevitable darkness that comes with night. These back and forth changes in life help us really appreciate the positive things and moments that come our way. They make the good times even more special. The law of rhythm is like a rule that applies to everyone, no matter who they are. Even the people who seem to have everything, tons of money, loads of happiness, and really strong abilities, they also go through ups and downs. So what can we do when things aren't going so great and we're waiting for better times? The key is to keep believing in ourselves and stay focused on our goals. Even when things are tough, good days are on their way. We just have to hang in there and keep going. Every person goes through some not so great days, but it's these tough times that make us really value and enjoy the good days when they come around. Life is like a big cycle, and the law of rhythm is like our guide to moving through its ups and downs, kind of like how the sea goes in and out, the sun goes up and down, and the seasons change. Nature has its highs and lows, and just like that, humans do too. It's all part of this big rhythm of life that we're all a part of. When we get a hang of the law of rhythm, we can see a positive side even in tough times, realizing that there are brighter days ahead. This law tells us that things are always changing, but it doesn't mean it's always getting worse. The going up and down is just a natural part of life's rhythm, and when we understand and accept it, we can move through life's cycles more smoothly. It's like saying, okay, change is constant, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Life has its own rhythm, and by recognizing it, we can handle the ups and downs better. The law of rhythm buddies up with other universal rules like the law of polarity and the law of gestation. It guarantees that when stuff isn't going well, better times are on their way, kind of like when one door closes, another one opens. This law is super important when it comes to habits, those things we do regularly. Habits are like rhythmic movements, and this law shows us that even good habits can keep us swinging back and forth in their own set patterns. It's a way of saying, hey, nature and the whole world have their own patterns, and understanding this helps us see that habits, even the helpful ones, can sometimes limit us to their own back and forth swing. Basically, the law of rhythm is like a friendly invitation to notice and welcome the rhythm of life. It nudges us to see that when things go down, there's a chance they'll come back up eventually. It's a gentle reminder that nothing lasts forever, and change is always there in our ongoing journey of ups and downs. Understanding and going along with this rhythm makes our life's journey a bit smoother. It's like saying, hey, when things are down, don't worry too much, they can swing back up. Life is always changing, and that's just how it is. People are always looking to go beyond what they can already do, even if there are some good things about where they are. They're curious about getting even better at what they do. Now think of this idea like music, like a song's melody and rhythm. Musicians can get really into a melody and it sticks in their minds, affecting how they do things. It's like this strong force that once it becomes a habit, is not easy to let go of. It's a bit like saying, hey, even if things are good, people always want to do even better. It's kind of like how musicians get hooked on a melody, and it becomes a strong force in their habits. Yet, there's a little catch. When folks include music in their spiritual or personal routines, it might start feeling like a robotic task, and that could slow down their spiritual growth. The trick is to go along with the natural rhythm, not fight against it. This rule applies in the physical world too. Just like people enjoy surfing at the beach without trying to stop the waves, consciously going along with the law of rhythm can help individuals find moments of rest. It's like saying, okay, when using music in our personal or spiritual stuff, let's not make it robotic. Instead, let's flow with the natural rhythm, just like surfing with the waves at the beach, and it can help us find some peaceful moments. The law of rhythm isn't just about the physical stuff. It also applies to how we think and feel. Instead of feeling swamped by life's ups and downs, you can make your own back and forth motions less intense by staying alert. Think of your breath as a small cycle within the bigger rhythm. By paying attention to any tension and connecting with this smaller cycle, you can move through life's highs and lows more smoothly and gracefully. It's like saying, hey, this rhythm thing isn't just about the physical, it's in our thoughts and feelings too. If we stay alert, it can make the ride through life's swings a bit gentler. Imagine our breath as a small cycle inside the big rhythm. Keeping an eye on it helps us handle the ups and downs with more ease. To explain this a bit more, Picture a pendulum swinging more than you'd like it to. This happens during a strong energetic squeeze after a time of healing and growth. Understanding that this squeeze is a normal part of the cycle helps you move beyond what might seem like bad feelings and make them less powerful. It's like saying, imagine a swing going a bit too far after you've been getting better. Knowing that this extra squeeze is just part of the process helps you not get too affected by what might feel like not so great emotions. It's like steering clear of trying to stop the wave and instead using it to your benefit. Take the current economic changes causing a lot of worry. Knowing that it's just part of a bigger cycle helps folks chill out, stay on track, and appreciate the ride of life. It's like saying, hey, let's not fight against the wave, let's ride it. Look at these economic changes. Knowing they're part of a bigger cycle can help us stay calm, focused, and enjoy the journey of life. Life has its own rhythms, kind of like times when things roll smoothly or when we're super lucky. This rule isn't just about what one person wants or how they feel, it's bigger than that. The law of rhythm kicks in when negative stuff shows up on the lower, more automatic part of our minds. But if you use your willpower to stay positive, you can sort of rise above the regular rhythm and keep the negative stuff away. It's like saying, life has its own beats, like good times and lucky moments. This rule isn't just about us, it's about how things work. When bad vibes show up, using our willpower to stay positive helps us break free from the usual rhythm and keep the negativity away. Life is always changing, moving from good times to tough times, and from things happening inside us to things happening outside. These regular movements are like the pulse and heartbeat of life. Nature has its way of renewing itself, and how people respond to these rhythms decides whether they'll be harmful or friendly. It's like saying, life is always renewing itself, going from ups to downs and from what's happening inside us to what's happening around us. These regular movements are like the life's pulse. Nature renews itself in a certain order, and how people react to these rhythms decides if they're going to be harmful or friendly. When you're feeling a bit tired of the same old routine, your soul starts looking for new ways to change how you behave. This kickstarts a mental and spiritual refresh, making those heavy feelings of sadness less intense. Changes in mood and mental balance are all part of these mental and spiritual rhythms. These times can be tough because they drain your important energy, but knowing about the law of rhythm can help you move through these ups and downs more smoothly. It's like saying, when you're tired of the same old routine, your soul looks for new ways to do things. This refreshes your mind and spirit, making those heavy feelings a bit lighter. Changes in mood and mental balance are part of this rhythm, and it can be tough, but understanding the law of rhythm helps you handle these fluctuations better. Achieving success is like a journey that needs time and discipline. At the start, when you're dealing with challenges, things might feel like a back and forth swing, kind of like a pendulum. But if you stay strong and keep being hopeful, that swinging becomes less intense, and you start moving towards success. Staying committed and sticking with it gets you closer to your goals, and each swing of the pendulum teaches you important lessons along the way. It's like saying, success takes time and discipline. At first, challenges might feel like a swing back and forth, but if you stay strong and hopeful, that swinging lessens, and you move towards success. Sticking with it and being committed brings you closer to your goals, and each swing teaches you valuable things. While the law of rhythm cannot be prevented, understanding and working with it can lead to desired outcomes in life. The law extends to the flow of energy from the sun to the earth and back, much like a pendulum's swing. Life is a dance of flowing, swaying, and swinging from birth to death. As the Kybalion states, everything is in constant flow, with its tidal impacts, rises and falls, and pendulum swings all rightly compensated. Sometimes things can feel a bit off, like your actions are not quite in sync. Instead of getting stuck on that feeling, it's important to keep your eyes on your goals. People need to handle these ups and downs professionally, just like dealing with different seasons, to reach their planned objectives. It's really about how you react to the ups and downs of life that makes a big difference. It's like saying, There are times when things feel a bit off, like you're not in sync. But instead of getting stuck there, focus on your goals. Deal with the ups and downs professionally, like handling different seasons, to reach your planned goals. How you handle the rhythms of life is what really matters. People can choose to either accept situations and find joy in them or face them head-on. It's important to understand that if the challenges go on for a long time, it can bring more problems into their lives. But on the flip side, handling tough times well can lead to new opportunities and bring a sense of hope from different angles. It's like saying, you can either go with the flow and find joy in situations or face them directly. If the tough times last too long, it can bring more problems, but handling them well can open up new possibilities and bring hope from different angles. The law of rhythm has 4 main aspects affecting various parts of life: how emotions, thoughts, voice, and behavior flow. It's not just the negative emotions, like hatred or anger, that can cause trouble. Even positive feelings such as love or affection can go wrong without the right rhythm. Similarly, both harmful and good thoughts, when they lack rhythm, can be harmful. Even honest and thoughtful speech without the right rhythm can be out of place and affect one's health and well-being down the road. It's like saying, the law of rhythm has 4 parts, influencing different areas of life: emotions, thoughts, voice, and behavior. It's not just negative emotions that can be a problem. Even positive ones can go wrong without the right rhythm. Both harmful and good thoughts without rhythm can be bad. And even honest speech without rhythm can cause issues for health and well-being later on. Experts suggest that it's really important to handle the tough times in life well. It's crucial not to let your emotions swing too far, either too much to the happy side or too much to the sad side. Keeping a balance and rhythm in different parts of life is the key to getting through challenges in a good way and keeping your overall well-being intact. When you understand and go along with the law of rhythm, you can make choices that bring positive things into your life. It's like saying, experts say it's really important to handle tough times well. You shouldn't let your emotions swing too much to the happy or sad side. Keeping a balance and rhythm in different parts of life is the key to getting through challenges well and keeping your overall well-being good. Understanding and going along with the law of rhythm helps you make choices that bring positive things into your life. Thanks for listening.